First of all, I've got a pretty good sized pan here, and I'm going to put it on the stove top. And take a note of which area of the stove you're going to turn on here, because there's a little map on stoves that show you which burner the dial goes to. So you don't want to accidentally turn on the wrong burner and end up heating the wrong pot or whatever else is on the stove. You want to heat the one that has your eggs in it. So I've gone ahead and I've filled my pan with a little bit of water. Probably not enough, just to show that you can always add more. So just because of the size of this pan, I'm going to try to boil 8 eggs at a time. So the only things you need are your eggs, a pan, and some water in your stove. Here we go, we've got 8 eggs, and I'm just going to carefully put each one in the water. Now if you have enough water, they should just cover the eggs completely, not too much more. And I just am doing 8 because I know from experience that that is how many eggs fit comfortably into this size pan. And keep in mind that the more eggs you put in, the higher the water level is going to rise. So you got to kind of plan ahead for that. And this may actually end up being enough water. Okay, all just about. I've got all 8 of my eggs in there. Looks like they are all just barely covered with water. And I'm gonna call that good for now. And then I'm gonna look up at your stove top here, and let's see, is it this one? No, looking at the dots, it looks like that would be the back burner. I don't want to turn that one on. Let's go over here. The front left corner. Does that look right? Yeah, that looks right. So now that you've selected the right burner to turn on, you're going to want to try to boil the water. And for my stove, that is typically about a 7 or so. It can be a little higher, is fine. Just not quite all the way up to the maximum, a little bit shy of the maximum. And so I just put in lukewarm water to start off with. And to cook the eggs, we're just going to wait for them to boil. So we're not going to sit here and watch that. We are going to take a break, and it doesn't really matter how long it's going to take. It's going to be different every time depending on how hot the water is to start with, and how hot your stove is, and how much water you put in. So the thing to keep an eye on is just when it starts to boil, then you want to start paying attention. So it's going to start making a noise, which we'll see in a moment. Hang tight. Alright, we're checking on the eggs again. We've got a bunch of little bubbles in the bottom there, and it's starting to look like 7-Up or Sprite or something, and you're wondering, Matthew, is it boiling now? The answer is no. It's not quite boiling yet, but it is completely normal. This is something to be expected. Don't be alarmed. This is part of the first step toward boiling. It's getting there. We're just going to hang on. We're going to wait until it is a full boil where the eggs are going to be dancing around and making some clattering noise. And it's hard to say exactly when it turns to boiling, but you kind of know it when you see it. We'll check in a little bit. Alright, looks like we've just got a few seconds left on the clock. Our eggs are still boiling vigorously. And we know that we started ours, it was already pretty good boil, so... And I like my eggs pretty soft, so I'm definitely going to take them off right away. There it goes. I'm going to take them off the heat immediately. Bring them over to the sink. And then, instead of dumping them out right away, I'm going to turn on the cold water max. Start mixing that in right away. And you don't want to shock the eggs too much, but we do want to cool them off, keep them from cooking any more than they are. So I tend to like my eggs with a kind of a liquidy center, so not quite a full hard boil. If you like yours boiled all the way through, you don't have to worry about cooling them off so aggressively. I like mine with just a little bit of soft boil in the middle. Alright. Kind of test the water with my fingers here. It's pretty cold. The water that was hot inside here has cooled off. I can start dumping out some of the warmish water. With some of the really cold water now over those eggs. I want to stop the cooking process right away. They're going to stay hot on the inside for quite a while. So you can fill up the pot with cold water and let it sit for a while. The eggs themselves will probably warm up the water after a little bit, and you can dump out that warm water and replace it with fresh cold water. The thing you might want to do is just take out one of them, set it aside, maybe try the first one. Make sure you got it just right. If it turns out that your egg was boiled too much for your liking, it's really hard, the yolk is really hard, just turn down the heat next time, or set your timer when it's boiling a little bit more slowly, or even take it out slightly less than 5 minutes. You can start toying with it just to get the eggs to the perfect point that you like them to be. So at this point, it's all a matter of personal preference. So I'm going to just try to cool mine off as fast as possible to keep that little bit soft core. If you want them to be completely cooked all the way through, you can just take the eggs off the stove and you can add a little bit of water, cool them off a little bit, or you can just let them sit off the stove and just wait for them to cool down naturally. And then they will kind of finish cooking on their own, and you'll have the eggs that you like. To each his own. Congratulations, now you can hard boil some eggs. Matthew again. I just want to make sure that I recommend that you remember to turn off the stove when you are finished. You don't want that unused stove to be hot. This one has a nice fancy indicator light that it's hot, but otherwise it's hard to tell. It looks like all the other ones. So make sure you turn off your stove when you're done cooking. That's all. Thank you.